let's go for this, session number 2. I would say most of you have come across Miguel. He has been on the news. Pros y contras was the very beginning of his international career. Miguel has been doing a tremendous job talking to people, to universities, to companies, and you're actually changing the mindset. You are. Of people that I've spoken to a lot, you are putting companies together with students. You are refocusing, supporting them, empowering them because they don't know where to go, what to do, etc. Yeah. You've invited us, the SPA, to co-host, to co-organize pitch boot camps, on which we came across fantastic kids, which we were then able to mentor and support towards, work opportunities, so to say. So that's basically the reason why we invite you to come here. Okay. Taking the risk of having you on stage. Okay. So I'm curious and not afraid.
Not a big risk,
curious.
I guess.
20 minutes is going to be the challenge for you. I know you could be here for 2 hours and 20. It's not going to happen, so make good use of your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. So thank you so much for this invitation. It's a great honor to be with you guys here today. I know this is a very important event for the SPA. I spoke with Guilherme many times about this meeting, the work these guys put up to, and it's immense and it's huge. And congratulations to you, Guilherme and Fernando, for the amazing job you're doing. So just to grasp the atmosphere, who's Portuguese? Portuguese people in the room? Se calhar fazemos isto tudo em português, não era? Yeah. Not Portuguese people. Sorry, but we can't all be champions of Europe, that's it. But nevertheless, can I go down? Do you mind? Great. So, I would like to share with you some ideas on talent attraction and what it means to engage with these very specific creatures, which are STEM students and STEM grads, so science, technology, engineering, and math. And what I'm going to share with you it's empirical, it's data sourced, and it's based on 2 major projects we've been developing over the past few years. One is Pitch Bootcamp that Guilherme told you about, and the other is a big investigation on employer branding on the major Portuguese universities, tech and business. But to understand the world that we have here today, so who's on Instagram? Instagram, yeah. LinkedIn? Facebook? Tinder? Liars. Busted. You are all lying, I guess. But the thing is, the world is super changed. It's very different than it was a few years ago. So Facebook 2004, LinkedIn 2007, Instagram 8, 9. So in maybe 10 years, a decade time, we've seen big changes. And perhaps the problem is that we have this Paleolithical biological structure with medieval institutions and organizations with godlike technology. So today we have more power than the Greek Roman gods used to have. And that should be taken into consideration when we talk about talent attraction or talent management. So I'm going to show you some slides. And this is the program I talked to you about. Pitch Bootcamp started 8 years ago. And it's an event where we gather 150 students and 150 companies over 2 days and make them connect, explore new ventures, new possibilities. So the program has been running for 8 years with something like 14,000 students in 21 countries, Portugal plus 20. And we spend with these kids 2 days. So we have learned a lot over the past 155 editions. We have learned a lot with them, their fears, what they're afraid of, their doubts, their reservations, what they think on themselves and on the job market per se. And I'm going to also base my insights on this report. It's called As Empresas Mais Atrativas de Portugal, should be something like Portugal's most attractive companies. And it's an employer branding research. We've been doing it for 5 years. And each edition gathers around the opinion of almost 4,000 students. Tech students and business students from Portugal's leading universities. So, Lisboa, Coimbra, Aveiro, Porto, and Braga. So, what have we been learning about data talent or tech talent or students and grads? What do they think of? So, first of all, This must come to you perhaps as a surprise, but these are the industries they go for. The first one, information and communication technology and technology-based fields. Not a mystery here. The second one, which is quite surprising, cars and transportations. Perhaps that's the output of the amazing job these kinds of companies have been doing over the past 5, 10 years. And students understand that cars and transportation are fields where there's big innovations coming on. That's why it's so attractive. Then we have commerce and retail. The reason why I believe retail is there is because even if at first sight it's not a natural native step to STEM students, in Portugal, the companies that are investing more money in employer branding that I know at least are, for instance, Jerónimo Martins, Sonai, which are big retail players, and they've been doing this for a long time. It's not recent stuff, it's like 10, 20 years of work they've been doing next to universities, and that's why you see their retail, at least I think. And then energy, and for the last main field, we can call it consulting. So these students are going big time into consulting. This is quite new. It's a trend over the last perhaps 5 years. So for instance, if we pick up Accenture or for instance Deloitte just a few days ago onboarded something like 600 grad students. Half of them at least are STEM field students. So this is quite new. Another thing which is very interesting, and the idea is, does anybody in this room has ever gone fishing? Fishing? So when you go fishing, you have a decision. Either you put on the hook your favorite food, or you put on the hook worms. And if you put on the hook your favorite food, you're not going to fish anything at all. So if you go fishing and you want to fish, on the hook, you must put what's the fish all about. The fish drivers, not yours. And this is very important for you, because if you're trying to attract great talent, it's relevant for you if you showcase your value proposition towards their goals, not yours. You should communicate on the drivers that students are willing to go for and not what you're about. This game, it's about them, it's not about you. So what do these kids really want? So in first, we can see they really want to develop their skills. This is the #1 career goal on the short term for the past 5 years. And this is very important. I will explain after why, but developing my skills is the most important thing for a STEM student. So if you're communicating with them, don't talk about the matraquilhos at the company. You should talk about how will I make you grow? How will I enhance and make our company as a trampoline for your future? Then they move to work-life balance. This is very important because work-life balance is not the time you go in the office and the time you go out. It's about blending. So for these kids, work-life balance is about me being myself at the company. So if I hate suits and ties, I won't work there. Perhaps 5 years ago they would make the effort, today they don't. And the bigger the distance between who they can be at the job and actually the conditions you give them will make sure if they enroll in your company or not. So the bigger the distance, the lesser the probability that these kinds of kids are going to enroll your company. Feel intellectually challenged. Be rewarded by merit and results. So for this generation, transparency is hugely important. They don't buy stupid rules. They don't like people to go up where they don't deserve. And they will speak for it. And for the last, develop new ideas and new products. So if you are trying to engage these kinds of students, whatever you can do for them to be part of brainstorming ideas, services, it's good for them. On the long term, so this is now, once I get my degree, on the long term, work-life balance goes on top and very high compensation packs. So these kids already know they are Maria Callas. They know they are prima donnas. They know they are expensive. And if you don't pay accordingly to what they think they deserve, they won't even talk to you. And for them, it's not just a matter how much money goes into my pocket, it's a matter of social justice. And this is quite new. So another thing which is very interesting is the fears. So the first thing they really feel afraid of when they end university is not being prepared for the job I'm going to do. So this shows a lot of empathy. This generation, sorry, but I don't buy the millennial stuff. I think it's a bunch of BS because everybody says these kids are only about themselves, they think only about themselves, but I'm not seeing that when they make decisions of companies. I see very focused and empathic people. It's not strange that the first thing they're afraid of is I enroll Fernando's organization, I move to Closer, and they're going to find out I'm not qualified enough. This makes them feel really frightened. And if you see the last, making mistakes and fail, they are very, very linked and together. Another thing they are afraid of is disliking the jobs or the tasks they're going to do. Because, I understand this, a lot of companies are saying to young people, and if you are that kind of person, please stop doing that. Please stop the speech about, you join our company, it's going to be amazing, you're going to become a CEO in 15 minutes, you're going to do this most amazing love job. Bullshit. Because if you say that you're only going to do what you like, once I go to Closer, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't like it, I move. So he's going to become a hostage of his own speech. Another thing which is very important is the relation they have towards my boss, my manager, my leader. So the first thing I really want to grasp from this guy or girl or woman is ongoing feedback. So imagine I'm studying at Técnico, FCT, or Nova, or Católica. All the pedagogical territory nowadays is with ongoing feedback. Ongoing feedback all the time. When we used to study, we only used to study, I'm sure you guys were the same, we used to study in January, June, but that's over now. For the past few years, the evaluation is ongoing all the time. Every week we have works. So if I go to your company, please don't just evaluate my performance one time a year, because these guys are going to become insane. They just need feedback all the time. They need that dopamine kick. Remember, these guys are on social networks since they were little kids. So you put the post and you want feedback. You can see how many likes, how many comments. The dopamine kicks in. And that's very important, because if I join your company, I need constant feedback all the time. Another thing which for them is very important is enthusiasm and motivation. So they assume it's their leader's job to motivate them. So you need to work on that. And they want very clear in goal setting objectives. Very clear, not ambiguous stuff. They want to be told what to do, when to do, and what's expected for them. So if you are somehow exploratory company and things are make along the way you go, this is going to generate frustration with these guys. Another thing which is important for them, what do they want? The perks they need or want is, the first of them is flexible hours. So perhaps if your organization is not able to allow them to have flexible hours, you're going to lose. Or they're going to enroll your company, 3 months later, they're going to see it's strict, it's dictatorial, and they will move. So flexible hours, very important to them, remote work too, and the office locations. Some of these kids will change company just on the criteria of the location to their houses. This is very strange, but they want comfort in their lives. Another thing which is very interesting is now, what does it mean to become a talent-friendly organization? So if this is the generation, what can you do to attract and retain better? So first of all, don't overpromise. I understand that it's a very tough job if you are in an HR department of a company like Deloitte, Accenture, Closer, Ageas, Critical Software, you name them. You need to hire 300 kids this year. 300. It's insane. And your HR department, when it goes to universities, they will oversell. They will say stuff like, we have matraquilhos, we have escorregas, we have fruits, we have flexible hours, you're going to be the CEO and going to talk with the CEO every single day. And then they go there, they see they're just a chimp, just a monkey like everyone else, and they will feel frustrated. So don't oversell, because they will charge you. Whatever you say on the university, for instance, on a job fair, they will charge you once they're at your company. Another thing is high turnover. So perhaps some of your companies, you have a turnover between 25 and 40%. And this is insane. Because 5 years ago, we had the turnover established around 10% perhaps. But now 40%, it really makes you think. Imagine that, for instance, Fernando at Closer has a 40% turnover among grads. 15 grads go in or 20 go in, and on the first year, even before the year, 8 of them go away. So Fernando, a wise man, will think something like, well, we have a problem. Something we are doing not right, because these kids come in and they move. But the thing is, they will move anyway. So it's not about Fernando. He can have the most brilliant and amazing company, and he has. But nevertheless, they will move. 5 or 10 years ago, kids used to move when they were bad. Now they move when they are okay. And this is a game changer. So instead of dropping your turnover rates from 40 to 10, you should learn how to live with 40% turnover. It's wiser, because that's going to be the zeitgeist and the state of the art. I don't believe this is going to drop. I think it's going to go up. Another thing which is very interesting is that the talent pool. I understand that perhaps your companies only recruit when you need, and this is wrong for so many reasons, and it's expensive. The new generation must mean that you have to have your talent pool open all the time. And you must create standard operating procedures in order that when somebody goes in, everything they do is documented, because they will leave fast. So don't let them leave with the content on their heads. Make sure it's all written so the next guy comes in and he knows what the other guy's been doing. So recruitment is not a standalone stuff. So on the beginning of the fiscal year, we understand that we need 10, 20 new people, and we're going to start to recruit. And once the objective is done, we stop. Wrong. You should be able to hire all year long. Another thing which is important is performance. Make sure that your objectives and goals are very clearly identified, because these kids really need report and feedback on their growth. Remember, the first thing they look for is skill development. So performance is intrinsically connected to skill development. So make sure the performance is clear and they know where they are towards the goals. The feedback the same. Don't give them feedback once a year. It's not going to happen. You have to give them feedback contingent to behavior. Behavior, feedback, behavior, feedback, behavior, feedback. I understand this for you guys must be very hard, because some of the companies here are huge multinational companies. You survey, for instance, satisfaction or employee satisfactions once a year. That's insane, because if yesterday I had a problem with my wife, that's going to reflect today on the survey. My boss last week was bad for me, I'm going to reflect it on the survey today. So it's not data sensitive. You should try to think on ways to make the feedback all the time. And when I say all the time, not one time per quarter, every single day. We are a 16 people team. We are a very small company. We have 75% of the team are engineers. Many of them from Técnico, FCT especially. The thing is, you give them feedback now, not in 1 month time, because these guys are not going to wait 1 month. Another thing which is very important is the Jedi, DevOps, blah, 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 the shenanigans of Star Wars on the job specs. It's just stupid. These guys don't buy it anymore, they know. So if you're in a HR department and you're thinking on a creative employer branding campaign and let's make superhero stuff and with creatures from Star Wars or whatever, bullshit, they don't buy it. They are fat enough. For you to have an idea, at Beach Bootcamp a few years ago, I understood something really interesting. In Técnico, students from engineering, informatic engineering, so kids that open code, in the 4th year, they suspend the LinkedIn account. They shut it off. Because they are fed up with people sending them messages all the time, all the time, all the time. And this is insane if you think about it. They spend almost 1-2 years off LinkedIn because they don't want to be disturbed. They want to study. So when you have a job spec or information to communicate, try to be cool, but too much, it's like the same for me. I know I'm ugly. I was born this way. I could never assume I was nice or beautiful. It's not going to stick. People can see you. No, you're not beautiful, man. You're not Brad Pitt. You're just plain ugly as fuck. That's who you are. So if you are leading people, if you are managing a team, I have some recommendations, perhaps. The first thing is, you know the Rothschild family? A few years ago, there was an interview with the Baroness of Rothschild. And the guy was asking, so Baroness, how hard is the wine business? And she said, oh, my darling, it's not hard at all. What's really hard is the first 200 years. So if you're managing a team of especially developers, you should be patient. Slow is fast. In Portugal, we have a beautiful saying which is incha, desincha e passa. So you should take your time. Slow is fast. It takes a lot of time to build an amazing world-class team. A few months ago, one of Portugal's leading visionary entrepreneurs, a very special man. Unfortunately, he passed away, and at some given point in the interview, Sr. Alexandre, he's saying that you don't make the long term on the short term. It takes a lot of time to build a management team. It's the same here. So if you go for fast results, you're dead before you start. Another thing, if you're leading these teams, is transparency and kindness. I also, from the beginning of our company, I am a huge believer in transparency. Transparency for me is about breaking down all the HR dogmas, like the leader makes compliments in public and makes punishments on the back office. Bullshit, I don't trust that. The feedback is for everybody on the plate of operations. Everybody, all the time. Completely transparent. In our team, everybody has a different salary. Everybody knows the salary. Some people have prizes, some people don't. I'm very sensitive to effort. I don't like the idea of results-based management. It's a trap for you guys. And if you're enrolling on a company that's saying, we are a results-driven company, if you work at home, I have no problem with that, you should be scared. Because I've seen over my career, which is not long, I'm 28 now, so I'm a very young guy. Don't laugh, please. I'm a very young guy, but many times I've seen people doing world-class jobs and the results are not there. Should they be punished? They don't. That's why I really like to invest on effort, not on results. Of course, it's an equilibrium. But the thing is, transparency for these guys is important. After transparency comes kindness. For a lot of years, I've done very bad things to my colleagues, burn out them sometimes. Not because I'm a bad guy, but because I used to talk loud, very fast and furious. I used to send emails at 11 o'clock at night. He doesn't answer back. I will call. Hey, I'm waiting for your answer. When did you send the email? 20 minutes ago. And this burns people out. They love the company, they love the team, but they just can't stand the guy. They don't. So over time, transparency must come with kindness. Otherwise, it will just hurt people. And then you should be generous. Generosity is about doing stuff, not for yourself. It's about doing stuff for them. A lot of people think that managing is about being like the guy looking down, I'm the big captain. That's the wrong approach. There's food on the table. Your people eat. If there's anything left, you eat on the end. So leading should be about generosity, not about chibata judaico-cristã nas costas das pessoas. Another thing which I find very important is the 4 Ps. I know many managers want teams to super exceed and they put them goals like on the roof. That's just the wrong approach. I like this idea of 4 Ps towards objectives or goals. In Portuguese, it should be something like pouco, pequeno, possível e progressivo. Pouco, few, because if there are too many goals, people will do paralysis by analysis. If it's too big, they won't even start. There's nothing more powerful on a team than achievement, possible stuff. And then progressive. I'm trying to go for Everest now. I know if I try Everest or Amada Blanc, I will die today. That's why over the past 5 years, I've been doing one mountain every year, and I know that perhaps in 24, 25, I can try my first summit ascent to Everest. But I can't do it now because I will die. And if I take Fernando with me, he stays there. Oh, he's the president. Everest doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care. Let's take Guilherme. He will die as well. So we have to make this progressive approach. It's very important for you guys if you are leading teams. Progressive goals. Another thing, I understand, I'm almost done. I know you're admitting.
To get you out of there.
I know. Another thing very important is, I had this lesson from a boss, which is, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. So don't try to pay least. Try to pay as high as you can, especially with STEM students, because they are very aware of their value. And everybody talks to everybody once they go on companies. How much do you win? How much? And they make decisions salary-based. They won't say it to you, but on the back office, they will confirm it to you. So if you pay peanuts, you will get chimps at your company. And last but not least, I think that leading tech teams, especially tech teams, every kind of team, but especially tech teams, I think that if you're leading, this is the image I get you to end. So this is my last expedition here in the Mont Blanc Massif. And For instance, as you can see here, um, you can't see it, but this is the line of the mountain. So you can't put 2 feet. There's no place for 2 feet. And for me, this is a good image on what it means to be a leader. I think 2 things emerge if you are a true leader. First of all, imagine that, for instance, Pedro, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he's at his job. He gets a phone call from the hospital. He's sick. His kid is very sick with something unpredictable. He will go on fight or flight mode on the instant. He will become blind. He will become deaf. Cortisol and neurotransmitters are in his body. He's insane. Fight or flight. He only thinks of that. It's not his fault that his kid is sick, but he's responsible. A lot of people, when they're leading teams, put the umbrella of guilt, culpa. Who's guilty? Who is the fault? Wrong approach. If you lead, everything is your responsibility. And another thing which for me makes a great leader, I understand, my friend, thank you so much. It takes courage to do this. And it takes courage for me to end like this. And that's the last thing about the leadership. It's courage. You can't be courageous if you're not afraid. I'm a hypocrite. You are too, but perhaps you don't admit. I have no problem admitting that I'm a hypocrite. And the truth is, when you're doing big summits, you cry a lot. Not only when you're at the summit, but during. Because, for instance, 30 people a year die at Mont Blanc Massif every year. So your life is at stake all the time. But the thing is, you cannot be courageous unless you feel fear. If you're leading a team and you don't feel fear of any kind, please move, go away, because you're in the wrong job. And the idea to finish this is always trust Dylan, because sometimes it's via music, through music, that we win the Literature Nobel Prize. Thank you, my friends. It was an honor. Thank you.